This is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, and you were listening to Potsy and Tino on the Potsy and Tino Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the Pots and Pans Network brings to you its tag team champions of the world. That's Tino Gray. I'm Rob Potsy Potcheck. We are the Potsy and Tino Show. As always, our theme song is brought to you by Adam's House Cat. We also want to thank Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare.
He's the American Dream for one night only last weekend.
No, he wasn't.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't. But
just because he didn't come out in the polka dots.
Yeah, well, exactly. And he didn't come out with Sapphire, baby.
Sapphire, baby.
Could you have imagined? See, if they had brought out Sapphire, he would have been the American Dream.
Nah, that'd have been necrophilia because she's dead.
Is she? I didn't know she was dead.
Yeah, Sapphire died a long time ago.
They could have brought out an urn.
Ew. I think that's some kind of gimmick infringement, maybe.
Maybe. So, Tino, you just off air, you were telling me about all these trials and tribulations for you trying to get on the show tonight. So, why don't you go ahead and tell the lovely listeners?
Well, because you text me.
What the hell is up with you?
You text me, and I was in the middle of stuff, and you called me. I'm like, dude, I'm trying to deal with family shit. When I get the family shit done, then we can do the podcast. Family shit comes first.
Let's point out, though, that every week that I'm not here right on time, I'm getting text messages and a phone call from you for the same shit.
I didn't realize what time it was. So me and my wife were goofing off, and
that's what they call it, folks. Goofing off.
It's been a while for you, so you don't know what that is. So, but no, she said something smart, and I grabbed her, and I kind of I grabbed her, and I kind of pulled her back on the bed. And that's when we fell on the bed. It went boom. I'm like, oh shit.
So wait. You pulled a Brock Lesnar and the Big Show to the ring, is what you did.
Yeah. And so and it's an old frame, but the frame broke. I was like, fuck. So then I had to get Haley in there. So we had to take the mattress off, the box spring off. I had to take the frame out. Then we had to sweep under because we got the wood floors now. So I had to sweep everything, take the frame apart outside because it's broken. I'm going to take it to the dump tomorrow. And then we put the mattress, the box spring in the mattress. So right now it's on the floor. And so I'll probably go tomorrow to see if I can get a new. But I'm going to wait and see. We might like it. We might like it like that. But she might make me get a new bed frame. But yeah, so I was dealing with that. And then I was like, because my plan was to come to your house. I just got out the shower. I was getting dressed. And then she said, and it was like 6:30, and she said something smart. I'm like, I still got time to leave because I usually leave here at 7 to get to your place. And by the time I finished doing all that, it was like 7:30. I'm like, I ain't gonna make it.
And we would have started the show at 8:30, is what you said.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'll just stay from home and we can at least start on time.
Well, I was
in a mood. I was almost ready to call you and say, I think we need to do a special Tuesday edition because I was.
Because you were just angry, yeah.
I was angry, and I saw, and I didn't get to eat, so I was telling you off air, Haley. So pretty soon, you guys are going to see me enjoying my Firehouse sub because I haven't had dinner yet.
So you're angry and hangry.
Hangry,
yeah. So what else happened this week though, man? Anything good?
Yeah, we went. I did a DJ'd another pool party Saturday. It was. Again, hot as blazes, but I had a good time. I had a ball. I did it for a friend of mine. She used to work at the same house rental company that I worked for. Now she's a manager at a different company, and she's like, "Hey, can you come DJ?" I'm like, "All right." So we discussed it, got pricing right, and I went out there and just had a ball, man. They were actually. It was. I'd never seen this before because I didn't think that they could do this, but they had a cooler, like a stand-up cooler, and on one side. They had like just sodas. On the other side, they had like White Claw and Budweiser. I'm like, I didn't think we could, but even cans. I'm like, I didn't think we could provide them with alcohol, but apparently, I'm like, hey. And then during one of the games, they did a shot to get them pumped up for one of the games. So it was actually pretty cool, man. I had a good time. Then Sunday, what did we do Sunday? So Saturday did that, came home, chilled. When did we
No,
go
you
to-
didn't chill. You came out Saturday.
I did. One night, I'm trying to remember when we went to the movies. It might have been, no, it's last weekend we went to the movies. No, this weekend. So Saturday, I got home, chilled with Nicole for a little bit, and then she was tired and she went to bed. I'm like, I'm not tired. So I was sitting up and I looked on TikTok and saw you had done a sipping sketch. And I'm like, that looks like Ruckus, because I recognized the counter.
Everybody recognizes the counter.
And I text you. I'm like, are you still at Ruckus? You were like, yeah. I'm like, I'm coming out. So I ended up going out there, and we ended up having a good time. T was there, and we just ended up having a blast like we always do, just laughing and cutting up and drinking. So I had a few drinks, and it was cool just to be able to sit back and relax. And we hadn't done that in a long time.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I got a funny story about that. So when I got home Saturday night and I went to bed, when I woke up Sunday morning, I woke up thinking it was Monday.
Why?
Yeah. Sometimes you sit there and you just forget what day it is or whatever. Well,
Yeah.
I woke up and I was like, man, I can't believe my weekend's over already. Yeah, because when you work retail, as long as I did, 20 plus years, you get used to only having one day off at a time, because it's you get Sunday off and then you get like Wednesday off, and that's like 2 days off. But like now working a non-retail job that is Monday through Friday, I have Saturdays and Sundays off, and when I have Saturdays and Sundays off, I'm like I get about 3 days into the week and I go, man, I need tomorrow off. Because I'm so used to working 3 days and having a day off. Now I have 2 days off in a row, so it doesn't feel like you have 2 days off in a row anymore. Like you just. But I woke up on Sunday morning, and I woke up at like 7:15, which is like the normal time that I wake up on the weekdays. I try to sleep until about 8 or 8:30 on weekends, but I woke up at 7:15 and I like jumped out of bed. I'm like, man, what happened to my weekend? And then I remembered I hadn't played golf yet, and I was going to go play golf with my brother-in-law and my mom on Sunday. So I'm like, yeah, we did end up playing.
I know you're talking. You're like, I don't want to. I'm like, you're like, I don't want to go. I'm like, where are you going to go? Well, yeah, probably.
and we had a good time, but we got halfway through the round and it started storming. And then we had to wait like 20 minutes, and then the storm kind of let up, but it still kind of drizzled for the rest of the round. But no, I played pretty well. I drove really well. I was consistent with my drives. Normally I being left-handed, I hit it to the left every time, and Sunday I was just hitting them straight, and I was hitting them long. So I mean it was nice. I'm finally getting used to that new club. But what sucks is I wasn't getting used to the rest of the clubs. I had like the worst irons round I think I've ever had since like the first time I ever played golf, and it was just horrible. But we play a game called Captain's Choice, which basically means like all of us hit from the same spot. Whoever hits the best shot, you hit from there for the next one, and then you just try to go under par that way. And with my 72-year-old mom out there, it's a lot of fun because, well, she talks a lot of shit.
And she backs it up.
No, she doesn't back any of it up. But she talks a lot of shit. So it made for
to help mom out.
It made for a fun round. But so I did that. I also, Tino, got to see a pre-screener of a little movie that comes out at the end of the month called Fast 9.
How'd you do that?
I'm not going to tell you. Not on the air.
That means it wasn't legal.
I'll put it this way: I did not go to the movie theater for it, so I will not get anybody in trouble at any movie theaters or anything else, because we do know that I'm friends with a bunch of people that work at theaters. But no, I saw the movie already. Is that one? Is it The Rock or Cena's in, or both? It's John Cena.
Okay.
And John Cena plays Jacob. What's his name? Toretto. So he plays Vin Diesel's brother in the film.
Okay, that's a stretch.
Yeah. That's a stretch. Well, I think they're I think they even say a line in it like look at the Toretto brothers. You know, they both have two different moms.
Okay.
You know, and it all starts out where Vin Diesel thinks that John Cena did something to be part of what killed his dad and everything, and because of that he kicks him out of the family by having a race. And,
So
and go ahead.
did they have any kind of tribute to Paul in this one or no?
No, they've already done all that.
I know, but I thought maybe like they might have like a little bit of a mention or something of it.
Oh, they definitely mention Brian in the film, and when they mention him, it's basically because Jordana Brewster, who plays Vin Diesel's sister in the films, and is married to Brian, basically says because it's her brother, she's got to come out of retirement, not him.
Okay.
Anyways, the movie is absolutely baffling and crazy because just when you thought they couldn't get any crazier with what they do, they got crazier with what they do.
I don't remember the last one I've seen. I don't think I haven't seen Paul Walker's last one yet. I need to catch up. I haven't seen.
Oh man, ever since The Rock's been in them, they've just been fun. But this one was a lot of fun. You could tell that John Cena was taking the place of The Rock in what he was supposed to do. You know, but playing Toretto's brother means that, you know, they play on that family thing and everything with it. So it's a fun, crazy movie. It's exactly what you expect it to be. Crazy, stupid fun.
So I do want to check it out though.
So I would say you want to. I also watched another movie this week called Love and Monsters, which when I saw the preview for it, I basically thought, oh, this is Zombieland with monsters, and it kind of is, but it's actually a really good movie. So if you like science fiction where it's post-apocalyptic like the game Fallout, but a lot more colorful and with a plot, it actually played pretty well to that. So there's all that, and then of course Tino next weekend. So not this weekend, but the following weekend, which is Father's Day weekend, folks. I am a celebrity guest at Fayetteville Comic-Con. So
I'll be at Universal.
You'll be at Universal, and I will be at Fayetteville Comic-Con all weekend. Doing panels, signing comics, kissing babies, doing the whole thing that celebrities do. But yeah, for whatever reason, they put us on the celebrity page for it. So me, Eric Klaus, you know, the Keen Spot local guys are all on the celebrity page. So it's us and the Mortal Kombat guys. So I think we're gonna have a cage match. But anyway.
Dumbass.
Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much what's up with me.
What about your AC debacle?
Oh, yeah, yeah. So Friday, I go to work, and yeah, Tino had his stuff tonight. I had my stuff Friday. Friday, I'm sitting there at work, and all of a sudden, like, I don't have a podcast on. I don't have anything like sound related going on, and I just hear whoop, 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 and I'm like, is that my air conditioning, my washing machine? Like, what is that? Like, is that the sink out in the kitchen? Is that the sink in the bathroom? Is that the toilet? Like whoop, 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 and I'm like, I gotta figure it out. So I walk into the laundry room first, and it's my air conditioner. My air conditioner's leaking, and I'm like, this air conditioner is like 22 years old. So I have no idea where the drip pan is or anything. Like, I have no idea how to service it. I try to look it up on the internet. The model's so old that you can't even find like a log book or anything. So I'm like, I really don't know what to do about this. So I call my mom, and my mom goes, hey, call our guy that you know services our air conditioner and everything. Just by saying that you're my son, he should be able to hook you up with at least, you know, a realistic deal on it, you know, like whatever it should actually cost instead of ripping you off like some of these places do. And because as you get into the summer months, they sit there and they just charge you like astronomical amounts for this type of shit. So the guy comes out, and they basically see the owner of the place answers the phone, and he's like, yeah, that name sounds familiar. Is your mom gonna be home? I'm like, this isn't for my mom's, this is for mine. He's like, oh, okay. Is your mom gonna be home? I'm like, no, she doesn't live with me. She lives at her own place. Like you're coming to my place to fix my air conditioner. She's the one that referred me. So if you want to do something nice for the 72-year-old woman, you can do that. But so he basically sits there and says, okay, we don't know what time we'll be out there, but we'll be out there today. Are you going to be home? I'm like, yeah, I work at home, so I'll be home all day. So he comes over, he hooks up a shop vac to the thing and like just sucks all the gunk out of it because it just really needed to be cleaned. Or so I thought, because today, Tino, it dripped again.
Oh no.
However, right now it's not dripping, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it was just excess or whatever that was just, working its way out or whatever the case is, but I'm keeping an eye on it. If it's still dripping tomorrow, I'll call them up and I'll get them to come back out so they can take a look at it. He did say that the coolant in it probably is borderline necessarily needing to get refilled or whatever. So I'm probably gonna have to do that too because I'm up in the office right now and it feels like it's about 76 degrees up here, even though it's 72 degrees downstairs.
Yeah, and if they're still using that old antifreeze, that new antifreeze they've got is a little more expensive because they can't use the old one anymore.
Well, no, so mine still requires the older one, so they have to use it. They can't put that, and that one is more expensive than the newer one. But hopefully it's just a quick little fix. Hopefully it doesn't even drip anymore tonight, so that I don't have to worry about it tomorrow. But regardless, yeah. So I had to have that fixed. But turns out the guy's a big comic book fan, so he's taking a look at all the pictures that I got up in the house and everything. And I apologize, I've got the sniffles for some reason today, probably because I was playing golf yesterday, so my allergies are kicking up. But turns out he's a comic book fan, so I threw him some comics, and he cut me a little bit of a deal. So I was pretty happy about that. Yeah. And just super cool dude too. Like just wanted to sit there and talk, and I was like, sorry, buddy, I'm gonna have to get back to work. So and you probably have to too. If you want to make your money owning a company. So, but yeah, it was pretty cool. He was like, hey, how do I get more of these and everything else? And I told him, hey, go to your local comic shop, just ask them to order them, and we'll make sure that they get them. I could have probably just walked upstairs and grabbed them all and sold them to him, but I didn't want to sit there and just look like a guy trying to make a buck off of it. So I gave him his first taste. Now he can go find his drugs somewhere else.
Oh, shut up.
So,
right.
So, and then last thing I did this week, by the way, I did finally finish the first Mass Effect game of the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. And if I hadn't gone out to dinner earlier tonight before we did this show, I was going to start the second game already. So, but it had been so long since I actually finished the first one that I didn't remember how it ended.
Oh.
And I did keep everybody on my team alive that I could. Someone always dies in the first game, so you got to pick which one's going to be the one not to make it out alive. So I definitely took the dude that I think is annoying as shit.
Nice.
And then I killed the council for anybody that watches this later and goes, what decisions did you make? If you really want to know what decisions I made, I'll go ahead and tell everybody right now. The decisions I made were: we're going to kill Caden. We're going to keep Ashley alive. Okay. We're going to keep Rex alive. So I kept Rex alive. And then I killed the council. So those were the big decisions that I made in the game. All the while, I was over 80% Paragon, which meant I was super good guy in the game, which is kind of hard to believe considering I let people die.
Yeah.
Multiple times. So anyway, there is that. Tino.
Yes.
We took a week off. I feel like we gotta.
You gotta make it up.
I feel like we gotta deliver tonight.
You're gonna do the one you've been holding off, or are you still gonna hold off on that one?
No, we're holding off. Like the big one is gonna be the big one. We're not gonna tell that one. But But how about I tell the story about the time I met Adam West?
Okay.
Because I told the story about how I met DDP, right?
Yeah.
Now, did I tell that on the air, or did I just tell you that?
You told it. You told it on the air.
You think I told it on the air?
I think you did. I don't remember.
You know what? If the Adam West one isn't long enough and you don't think it's good enough, I'll tell the DDP one. Okay. So all right. So we're in. If I had to guess, I'd say Anaheim, California for this conference, and one of the really cool things, and it's disappointing right now because last year, my last year with GameStop, they didn't have a live in-person managers conference because of the pandemic going on. This year, it looks like they've also canceled the live in-person conference. So it's got a lot of people upset because they're not going to get as many gifts or anything else because, when you go out to one of these conferences, they basically go balls out and just, a big blowout of gifts and prizes and all different types of things to really drive up the energy levels, right? So this had to have been, it was when Lego DC Superheroes came out. Might have been the second one. But in the Lego Marvel games, Stan Lee is always like a hidden character in it, right? So like after you collect all the other Lego characters, you can then get Stan Lee, who has all the superpowers, by the way. So in the Lego Batman game, they did this thing where Adam West is hidden all over the game, like being dangled upside down and different things, and you keep hearing him in the background and everything, and it just makes you laugh every time you hear him because it's really his voice in those moments. By the way, Kevin Smith is also in one of those games.
Oh,
so yeah. So anyway, when we got to the WB room, because they're the ones that make the DC Superheroes game, of course, they're sitting there talking to us about like, this is what happened in the game, this is what's going on, and hey, how about we go ahead and we let everybody know that at the conference, like when you go to the expo, which is like our own little E3 or San Diego Comic-Con on the floor, they're like when you go to that, we got a very special guest this time, and it's like, really, who, like who is it, right? And they're like, we have Batman himself, Adam West. And it's like, you gotta be kidding me. This is one of those moments where like, and I'm sitting there going, I got a podcast. What if I can get Adam West to actually do a podcast spot for the podcast? Now this guy gets paid for his voice, right? Because at this point he's on Family Guy, he's the mayor, he's obviously in the video games, and of course he's the voice of Batman. So I'm like, I'm gonna try. And then, of course, you're walking through the line and it says no recording devices or anything else. You're like, damn it, right? So, but I get up to him and I'm like, Mr. West, you have no idea how big of an honor it is to meet you, right? And he goes, just like that, not saying anything or whatever. And I'm like, no, I mean it. Like my dad told me about when he met you, like in like the 70s. At a conference that he went to, and now I'm getting to meet you. I write comic books on the side. I do this, and he looks up at me and he goes, and I'm like, this is just an honor. Like this is just one of those moments in your life that you just get blown out by, and you're like, holy crap, I can't believe I'm meeting this guy, right?
Right.
And he looks at me, and you know what he does? He goes, really, Rob? Really? And I'm like. Fuck yeah! And he puts up his fist and he goes, bump it. So I gave Adam West a fist bump. And then of course he signed his autograph and took a picture with me and everything. And I was just like blown away by it, right? So that's when I met Adam West. I got a fist bump on the right hand, right? The next year. So this is a two-part story. I should have actually held this one for next week, but I'll go ahead and say it. I'm not going to tell the DDP story now. I'll tell that next week. So the next year, the same company is there with Marvel this year because they're doing Lego Marvel Avengers or whatever. And they're like, we have a very special guest this year. Very special. Like, we didn't even think we'd get this guy. And I'm like, holy shit, who'd they get? Robert Downey Jr.? You know, like Samuel L. Jackson? Like, who do they got? Even better, Tino. They tell us Stan Lee is going to be there, right? And at this point in my life, I've got comic books out, everything else, and I've never met Stan Lee. So I'm sitting. Actually, that's not true. I met him once, about 20 years before that, but it was like in passing. Like, there he goes. Hey, there goes Stan Lee with his entourage. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, what are they going to do to have to meet Stan Lee? Because Stan Lee's only going to be there an hour. Okay. So they've got 20 different classes that people have to go to and everything else. So each class is basically given 3 tickets to meet Stan Lee. So they decide, all right, to win these tickets, we're going to have trivia questions. And it's going to be Marvel history trivia. So, of course, they go, everyone knows Spider-Man. Everybody knows Iron Man. Everybody knows Thor, you know, Captain America. But what was the first appearance of Iron Man? My hand goes, you know, and I'm like, it's Tales of Suspense. I mean, I know that. Like it wasn't Iron Man #1. It was Tales of Suspense. My hand goes up first. They pick somebody else, and I'm like, son of a bitch. Then they go, all right. We now know that it was Tales of Suspense. So now we're going to ask, what was the first appearance of Thor? My hand goes up first. Journey into Mystery. Of course it is. I know this one. And they go, all right, that girl over there. Fuck. Like at this point, I'm actually getting actively mad. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like my hand was first. When my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut.
Oh, okay, Miz.
And which, by the way, is a teacher thing. You know, like that's what teachers do. My hand goes up, your mouth goes shut. Third one. Okay, we all know that Captain America actually was in Captain America Comics #1. But what was his first appearance in the Silver Age Marvel Universe? And no, my hand goes up first. They go, that person over there, and they don't choose me again. I'm like, I almost got up and left the room. I was so mad at this point. I'm like, I'm not gonna get to meet Stan Lee. Like this is, you know. The guy walks up, taps me on the shoulder, and just hands me one of the little balls that has the wristband in it, and he goes, you got it, bro. Don't worry. Because they knew that I knew it. Like I'm sitting there, come on. And so when I went to go meet him, like, this is one of those things where it's like you get 5 seconds with the guy, right? And I was like Ralphie talking to Santa Claus in A Christmas Story, because I went up to him and I was just like, and he looks at me and he goes, hello, I'm Stan Lee. And I'm like, yes, you are. and he signs a Lego Marvel thing, hands it over to me, sits there and says, it's really nice to meet you, Rob, because he sees the name on my badge. And I said, is there any way I can get a fist bump? And he goes, of course. So I put out my left hand. So I've now got Adam West and Stan Lee. And ever since then, Tino, I've had 3 comic books sell out.
Oh, is that what happened?
I think creative juices flowed through like Captain Planet.
He's a hero, gonna bring pollution down to 0.
Don Cheadle.
That's my favorite one. That's me up.
So there's the GameStop story of the week. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like anybody was in the audience to hear it. So hopefully we'll get some viewers on the replay edition of the Potsy and Tino show. So Tino, lots of big bad news happened in wrestling this week. So my question to you is, do you want to talk about the shows first, or do you want to get right into the nitty-gritty?
Let's get into the nitty-gritty because I wasn't a whole lot to mention about the shows this week. I wasn't happy with, and you know me, I love AEW, but AEW was
there was one big thing to announce.
Mark Henry.
No, he showed up at the pay-per-view. We talked about that last week.
Oh, Andrade.
El Idolo. Getting to use his name and everything.
Yeah, so that was about the only exciting part, I thought. Oh.
And obviously you don't think it's that exciting. You're yawning already.
Yeah. Tired. But I'm trying to think what else. SmackDown was good. Let's get into this, and then we'll get into the shows.
All right.
The only shows I want to talk about is NXT and SmackDown, so we won't be here long. Because Raw, I did see something interesting though on I forget what it might have been YouTube. They were saying how MVP kind of teased the Street Profits as possibly being a new member of the Hurt Business, and I think that would be interesting.
I mean, if they got traded over to Raw, it would be interesting.
They ignore this brand extension. He could go to SmackDown and manage them on SmackDown.
Well, I think that MVP as a manager could show up on both shows without a problem.
Yes.
I think you're right. But let's talk about the WWE releases from last week.
And one that
what do they really mean?
And one I just hit you with today, you hadn't even heard about it. It just came across Twitter.
Well, who?
I told you, Jackson Riker.
Oh yeah.
The show last week. He was in a match last week.
Yeah, turned babyface in the match last week. Although I don't know why anybody would ever believe that he'd be that. That's like Lars Sullivan being a babyface. It's like, are you sure, guys?
They want to get the babyface turn on his way out.
Yeah. Right. So now we've had names like Velveteen Dream. We've had but last week specifically, we got Ruby Riott, Santana Garrett. We got Buddy Murphy. We got Aleister Black, and we got Braun Strowman.
And Lana.
I think I'm missing one. Lana. So we got one person who had already requested her release in Lana. We got one person who main evented a pay-per-view less than 5 weeks ago. We got another guy who just re-debuted on SmackDown last week. Like you just said, we also got a guy released that was just in a match with AJ Styles last week. We got Buddy Murphy, who's one of the best workers in the business, and we got Aleister Black, who also is one of the best workers in the business, former NXT champion, and
Braun,
and a main eventer, a former Universal champion within a year and a half ago.
But I think Braun's going to have problems finding a place to land because I think he's got too big for his britches, and he was calling all the other places indie wrestling. He was an indies suck, and all the other places suck. So I'm not too sure that they're going to be, and which they probably will. They'll suck it up and hire Braun Strowman.
So sorry, let's put it this way. If Seth Rollins were to get released tomorrow, now it's not going to happen, but if Seth Rollins were to get released tomorrow, you telling me he's not going to end up somewhere else?
Well, I'm sure Braun will, but I don't know if that hurt him talking smack like that.
No, it lets him go somewhere as a heel. It immediately gives him that lightning burn heel heat that he would need. Him sitting there saying, "This is too small of a business for me, so I'm wrestling on my terms. I wrestle when I want to wrestle. I go on last. I don't ever curtain jerk, and I don't ever end up in the middle of the card." Like he can demand that and make it part of a storyline right now, and it works. Like let's be real. How many guys in this industry should be able to stand toe to toe with Braun Strowman today?
Miro.
Really? We're talking about a mid-card champion in AEW versus a former Universal champion in WWE.
We both know Miro should have been main event.
Nah.
Rusev should have been main event.
People don't get main event just because they should be.
You're damn right about that, because there's a bunch of people who don't deserve main event who are.
Yeah, like Bobby Lashley.
Truth.
No, I think Bobby Lashley deserves it, man. He's worked hard.
Yeah.
He's got a good mouthpiece. He's a good worker. He looks the part. He sounds the part. When he wants to hurt you, it really looks like he's going to hurt you. I mean, he is a legitimate fighter.
So where do all these people go? Like we discussed, Lana will probably end up in AEW.
Lana in AEW just makes a ton of sense. In fact, if they really want to play up the Kip Sabian versus Miro angle,
That's
it makes
what I
a lot
was
of sense, because it allows Penelope to go up against Lana as well. So I think that's a no-brainer. Buddy Murphy,
because sorry before we go, because and the reason why I say that he may go is because if you see the promo with Miro Friday night, the first thing he said, I want to shout out to my hot wife. Now he said that after, so that's why I'm thinking she's coming.
Oh, it's a no-brainer. Like, yeah. Why would Tony Khan not? I mean, she'll take a discount to go work with her husband. You know, as long as they can put food on the table and be together, why wouldn't they?
Yeah. All right. So other people, other places.
All right. Ruby Riott. Where does Ruby end up?
I hate to say, but I think she'll end up at Impact.
Why do you hate to say that? Impact has a pretty good women's division. Yeah. They've got a great champion.
But they're not. I like Impact, but they're not, like
visible.
I said.
They're not visible.
Yes.
So, but that doesn't mean that it's not the right move for her.
It's true.
You know, like for example, the best move for Braun Strowman is New Japan. Japanese fans love the monster gaijin. They love him. And I mean, Stan Hansen, Brody.
He probably won't go. He'll probably end up at Impact. I don't know if he'll go to AEW.
I'll also say this: the money is in Japan. Now, could he sign with AEW and work New Japan dates? Absolutely. Could he sign with Impact and do New Japan dates? Absolutely. Could he sign with Ring of Honor? Sure.
Well, it probably makes more sense to go to Impact, because Impact and New Japan have something going right now.
Well, and so does AEW and New Japan, until WWE signs their deal with New Japan, right? But ideally, Braun to New Japan makes the most financial sense for Braun Strowman. Probably work very limited dates, get paid a ton of money to be the new Brock Lesnar out there, win the IWGP World Title, carry it for 6 months, drop it to Okada or somebody like that, who has to chop down the monster, right? And of course, you get to come in and say that you are the bad guy because you're an American wrestler going to Japan and stealing the belt, right? And then nobody can beat you because nobody's your size. So like I see it as being the easiest decision to make, and probably the one decision he won't.
Aleister Black.
Aleister Black is a really interesting one, because his wife may end up working for the WWE again.
Which I totally don't understand. They hire her back and let him go.
Well, did they hire her back, or was she just working out at the Performance Center because her husband works there? We don't know, right? But I would say this. I would say there is a high probability now, and the best move for Aleister Black would be AEW. Now, at the same time, it's also a bad move. And it's a bad move because it's bad for AEW to just keep swallowing up the best names that WWE drops. It's bad for AEW because suddenly they're getting too big for their britches in terms of their roster. and they're not able to highlight as many people. So that's obviously why they've now got 3 shows or 4 shows, right? Because they've got Elevation, they've got Dark, they've got Dynamite, and now they've got whatever they're going to call the Friday show, which I think they already have a name for, and I can't remember what it is. But overall, if his wife ends up going to where it's smart to have her, that would be as Andrade's manager again. So it would make the most sense for Aleister Black also to end up in AEW.
So you don't think they'll keep him with Vicky?
I think Vicky's a placeholder till they know what they can do with what's her name, Thea Trinidad. You know, I just think that's what it is. And Vicky makes sense because Vicky can speak Spanish and speak English, so it's easy to communicate with him anytime that she needs to. She's also got massive heel heat whenever she wants it, so I mean, it makes it really easy to use her like that. But it's not the Vicky of old either. You know, she looks like she's there to collect the paycheck, if you ask me. But you know, so it's you can keep him with her, but I think she's a placeholder. And I could totally see Aleister Black versus Miro, and have Aleister Black also managed by his wife.
Okay.
Tino, you'll notice though that the line that is in front of you says WWE Releases. What do they really mean?
All right. So what do they really mean, Rob?
So there's a lot of talk about the WWE and whether or not, as a publicly traded company, they're looking to sell. And if you look at what they're claiming all of these cuts were made for, they said budget cuts, right? Now, how does a company that just announced record earnings for like 6 straight quarters need to cut any budgets? Shouldn't they be trying to expand? Shouldn't they be trying to add more sizzle to the steak?
Yeah.
So the idea that they are cutting costs as they get ready to go back on the road, which is another time where you would expect them to want to have as many people on the roster as possible, they're cutting a main eventer, a former NXT champion, a former cruiserweight champion, a former women's champion. Like, they're just cutting everybody, right? So it has to mean, Tino, that they're starting to entertain offers behind closed doors to sell the company. It's got to.
But why?
All right, so I'm going to tell you why. You ready? How much money has NBC Universal or Comcast put into the WWE in the past 2 years?
About $2 billion, I think that's what we said.
Correct. How much money has Fox put into them?
More than that.
No, not more than $2 billion. $1 billion.
$1 billion. Okay.
They got 5 years on SmackDown for $200 million a year, right? So think about that. $3 billion already spent by 2 major conglomerate companies, right? Well, at some point, Comcast has to sit there and go, why do we keep paying them $1 billion a year, signing these new deals, when we could just own them? Like, there's got to be a number that just makes it the right number. And I think that the number that gets WWE listening is $4 billion. The number that gets them to sell is 6.
Then who runs it? So that then does that mean Vince and Triple H and they're done, and who runs WWE then?
So if WWE were to sell, there would probably be a contract in place for current management to maintain their position, to run the business and explain the business to different executives, so that way they could continue to run the business day to day the same way that it's running right now, because it's highly profitable. So why would you change management?
Okay.
Now, in a lot of cases like this, I'll go ahead and give you some business sense here. If WWE were to sell, they would probably give Vince McMahon a position of president emeritus or something like that, a title in name only, they'd probably ask him to step down because he's probably the highest paid employee on the WWE's roster. So you give him a nice big sellout. You get him to basically, just retire, if you will. But then you need a face to the company that still represents what the brand has always been about. And that's when you sit there and you put Stephanie and Triple H in charge of day-to-day operations of the company, similar to what when UFC got bought, UFC kept Dana White in a position of at least visual power. I don't know how much power Dana White really has anymore on the business-making decisions. I don't know if they have a booking committee. I don't know exactly how they do any of that stuff in UFC. But I know that Dana White got to keep his deal in place with them and became the president of UFC. Doesn't mean he owns any of it. He might own a fraction of it or something at this point, but he definitely, is an executive with them, but not necessarily anything else. I think that's kind of what would happen in the WWE at this point. I think that they would sit there and say, Vince, thank you for your service. We're going to send you off with a giant party and everything else. And this may be one of the sticking points as to why Vince McMahon doesn't take it to the board of directors. But here's the thing. If an offer is a reasonable offer to purchase a company, the board of directors has to hear it. They have no choice but to bring a reasonable offer to the table.
Okay.
Because a reasonable offer to the table will instantly drive the stock price up. Because what's going to happen is right now, WWE stock price is like $53 a share, I believe. So what would happen is Comcast would sit there and say, okay, because you're a publicly traded company, this is what we plan to do. We plan to buy out the shares at $62 a share. So at a $9 increase for every share of stock that somebody owns, right? Which means that stock is suddenly worth $62 a share. So that would drive the price of the stock up, but it would also give the people that already own stock a reason to sit there and say, you can have my shares so that you can take over the company.
Gotcha.
Okay. So ultimately, the reason why you release these people right now is because you're trimming fat. You want to look at as profitable as possible while having as few people on payroll as possible. Okay. Now, you obviously still need a certain amount of people on the roster to run your rosters. You got 4 different rosters you're running with 205 Live. So you've got to have enough people on those rosters to be able to run those. But after that, you got to look at it and go, okay, who do we need? Who do we not need? And when they looked at Braun Strowman, they talk about Braun Strowman having a $1 million a year contract. So, on our Facebook group, the one question that I asked everybody was, are these people that are being released ones that just had their contracts come up while Vince was giving everybody that $250,000 a year or $500,000 a year contract? Because Lana, what is that noise?
I'm on the deck, some dude on like a moped or something. Sorry.
It just sounded like your microphone was just like. Anyways, with Lana, we know that Lana did sign one of those $250,000 a year contracts. So we know that the reason why they dropped her is because she's now worth $250,000 to them.
Right.
So cutting her is an easy decision. Buddy Murphy may have also been one of those people that when his contract came up last time, they were like, buddy, what's it going to take to get you to stay here instead of going somewhere else? And he said, a match a week. And how about this much money, right? And they probably went, okay, we can make that happen. Because if you remember, back when AEW first started, they were throwing money at people. And now a bunch of those people that are getting dropped are the people that they threw a lot of money at. So There you go. That, like, anybody who thinks that this isn't a business play by Nick Khan to make the company more appealing or appetizing to a giant company to swallow is fooling themselves. Because what always makes the WWE so attractive to Comcast is the fact that they aren't paying writers to write the shows. Now, granted, WWE is paying writers to write those shows, but NBC's not paying for scripted television. They're paying for sports entertainment. So it's a live broadcast every week. So there's not scripts in the classic sense of a movie script or a TV script. So you're not paying writers, which means if there's a writer's strike, WWE continues to happen. When sports shut down, WWE continued to happen. So all of this stuff is why the WWE is so appealing and so appetizing to a giant company wanting more broadcast. And we see that based on the Peacock deal, right? Monday Night Raw shows that they have the absolute lowest ratings that they have had ever last week. They did a 1.1 in hour 3, which was a hell of a main event. A hell of a main event. A 1.1.
Yeah, that's sad.
The first unopposed episode of AEW did better than that. However, the first 2 hours both did a 1.5. So still better than whatever AEW has ever done on any week at any point in time. I digress. When it comes down to it, unscripted television always has a place. This is why shows like Survivor are still on. This is why Big Brother's still on. This is why Keeping Up with the Kardashians is still on after 20 seasons. I've never watched an episode, but it's still on the air.
I'm sure you have. I haven't.
No, I have not. I don't even know what channel it's on.
I don't even.
Yeah, I really don't. And I can almost guarantee whatever channel it is on, I don't get on my TV. So, because I don't even get sports channels. So that's what people aren't like. Like, this is where I disagree with the people from Busted Open saying there's no way the WWE is up for sale. Bullshit. Everything's up for sale. The $1 Million Man says it every time he comes out. Everybody's got a price. There is a price tag that Vince McMahon has to take to the board of directors. Now, granted, the fact that he's on the board of directors, the fact that I'm pretty sure Linda McMahon's on the board of directors, and maybe even Shane McMahon and Stephanie McMahon are on the board of directors, means that they may still be able to outvote anything in terms of what is best for business. But we all know that at this point, at 76 years old or whatever Vince McMahon is, he's got to be thinking what is the best move for the business. And if he gets Triple H a contract with the business to continue running all three brands, there it is. There's even talk that at some point what would happen, because you have to think the amount of money that the McMahon family would make to be bought out of the WWE is in the billions.
Yeah.
So if they got bought out for billions and Triple H wanted to start up his own wrestling company after that, he'd have the money to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, he would literally, you're talking about, he would have just as much money as Tony Khan.
Yeah.
So ultimately, like the way you have to look at it is, if they still wanted to be in wrestling and NBC Comcast said, no, you're not going to be in wrestling anymore, they probably sign a 1-year no compete clause. And then after that, they open up another wrestling brand. I mean, Gabe Sapolsky's done it multiple times. You know, like, it's just how it is. Hell, they could instantly buy up Impact and have a TV deal.
Oh, poor Impact.
They could buy Ring of Honor away from Sinclair if they wanted to. The
little engine that could.
It's amazing. It's been going on for like 17 years. Even longer. I don't know. I don't know when it started, but so there's that, Tino. Now let's go ahead and talk about
NXT.
Go ahead.
Why?
Go ahead and talk about it.
I'm trying to remember. Like I said, I watched so much wrestling last week.
Darn it.
I know. Looks like that they're pushing Colossus and the tag team champions against Alejandro, which I don't get, because he just lost the cruiserweight, so now he's going to go for the North American Championship.
Well, Johnny Gargano just lost the North American Championship, and now he's going for the NXT Championship.
which I don't think it. I think they're pushing. I don't want them to put it on Gargano, but I think you're right. I think they're going to put it on Gargano.
I think that of all the people there that can continue to make that belt special, Gargano does make maybe the most sense.
I still think you got to give Pete Dunne a chance.
So anyway, what happened on this episode? You know,
Well, no. The only thing I remember is To the Moon. That's my favorite.
So let's go ahead and say how it started. It started with the three-way dance to determine who was going to face Karrion Kross and what happened. Adam Cole came down like a little punk-ass bitch, like a convenience store worker, and proceeded to beat the shit out of all three competitors to the point where he grabbed the microphone and tried to do his best Britt Baker impression and call out the champion. Are you going to tell me I'm wrong?
No.
You're not going to tell me I'm wrong. Proceeded to do his best Britt Baker. Calls out the NXT champion who comes down to the ring. Now, this is where a lot of people actually had struggles with this. They booed Carrie and they were cheering Cole. Yeah, but why should Karrion Kross give two shits about Adam Cole? Because he whined a little bit. He wasn't even in the number one contender match. But then, of course, Karrion Kross being who he is.
He pulled his punk card.
But Karrion Kross being who he is, being the biggest guy in that match going forward, sat there and said, okay, Regal, I don't care what you have to say about this. I want everybody. Now, granted, if you want to prove that you are the top dog in a brand, the way you do that,
you beat everybody.
Is by being in there with everybody. Now, it's supposed to be a fatal five-way?
No, it was going to be.
It's a fatal five-way.
Now it is.
Kyle O'Reilly, Pete Dunne, Johnny Gargano, Finn Balor, Adam Cole, and like I don't even know how Finn Balor got into that match.
Because I think he was supposed to be in the triple threat, or he was saying that he never got his rematch. I think he came down.
He did get a rematch.
How did he get in that?
It is him as the fifth guy, right?
No. There's because there's the three there. There's a triple threat.
Is it a fatal four-way or a fatal five-way?
No. It's three of them. They were doing triple threat. Cole
right.
and the champion. That's five.
Oh, okay. You're right. Because obviously Karrion Kross is in the match too. Yeah. You're right. So no Finn Balor.
No.
So what's Finn Balor doing?
I think he's out. He's hurt. I don't know. He's probably going back up. He's probably going back up to the main brand.
We have been talking about how he's probably getting called back up. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him show up on Monday Night Raw this week because, well, you know, they don't know what the hell they're doing.
They've cut everybody else.
They've cut everybody else. They got a 3-hour broadcast with 6 guys. AJ Styles, go out there and give us 48 minutes. Okay, boss.
With a broom.
Like they keep almost, but they get rid of Braun Strowman. So all right, so they start with that instant like clusterfuck, right? And then they immediately go to a second clusterfuck because they have Ember Moon come down and she immediately calls out Raquel Gonzalez, and now they've got a feud. So, and then after all of that, you finally get some things happening. So you get a women's tag team championship match. You get the and then the main event of the night obviously was MSK versus Del Fantasmo, right?
Yeah.
And just when you thought Fantasmo was going to win, Thick Boy comes out and jumps right through. What is his name? Why am I not remembering it?
Bronson Reed.
No, not Bronson Reed. The other guy that he ran through. He like squashed him on the wall.
Oh God!
And when he came off the wall and he just collapsed, I was like, that was a hell of a sell.
Yeah.
But it's because the wind was actually knocked out of him for real. So by the way, I am going to say that while NXT started out like a train wreck, with that first match, and then the second, like the women's setup, like that just being two massive, like everybody just beating everybody up shit. I really did feel like it was a good building show. Like it gave us a lot.
So does that mean that AEW, does that mean that Nyla Rose is going to be into contention again for the title?
I wasn't talking about AEW.
I thought you said AEW.
No, NXT.
Sorry.
You want to talk about AEW? We can talk about AEW.
No, we didn't talk about.
Sorry.
We didn't talk about To the Moon.
Oh, you want to talk?
Because he came out and he because I guess we had Eli Drake coming out, who is not his name anymore. I know, but I refuse to call him LA Knight. He came out
Knight
to wrestle, and then of course DiBiase's watching him, and then of course we got your boy Cameron Grimes comes out, and he causes a distraction, and LA Knight loses, and then Cameron Grimes goes, "This is your guy, this is your guy," and he walks to the back with Ted DiBiase. So
you know what I think is going to happen in that whole situation at this point?
That he's just going to pick somebody totally different.
It's going to be the guy that's beaten both of them in the ring.
You think?
Dude, why wouldn't it be at this point?
That would be hilarious.
Like I'm out here to take one of the newest and hottest guys in NXT, and there's nobody hotter than this man right here, and I don't even remember what his name is. Like Josh Jordan or whatever.
No, I know you're talking about. I can't remember his name either, but
Jimmy Smits over there. No, not Jimmy Smits.
Anyway.
But I could totally see him coming out saying this is my guy, and then them both being like, what? Yeah. It would just and by the way that NXT booking seems to be, that's exactly how they're headed.
Oh, they're listening to us right now.
That's exactly how they're headed, and I don't remember what the dude's name is, but he'll be Ted DiBiase's next dude. So all right, Wednesday night became Friday night. Oh, I guess we need to talk about SmackDown first because it actually happened before AEW.
That's going to drive me crazy.
What's that?
I'm trying to figure out that dude's name because that's going to drive me crazy.
So SmackDown was supposed to continue the Aleister Black versus Big E storyline, and didn't. And didn't. It literally became an all Roman Reigns and Usos show, did it not?
Yes.
You know, and once again, Dominic Mysterio looks like a greener than goose shit guy out there. And I mean, like the fact that Jimmy had to roll into the pin properly just shows how green Dominic Mysterio really is. And then obviously getting the shoulder up was part of the storyline, so that's all fine and dandy. But I want to point out, and this is my favorite moment of all of SmackDown. Rey Mysterio and Dominic are getting ready to leave, and they got their gear with them, right?
Right.
And they're walking out the door with the tag team championships around their waist. They're still wearing the ring gear.
You know what I'm thinking? I was thinking the same thing. Like, y'all didn't even shower. That's nasty.
But hold on, it gets even better because when they went to have the second match, they were wearing different ring gear.
Well, they couldn't wear the same sweaty ring gear. Come on, Rob. They had to shower before that second match.
The Usos didn't.
They couldn't come out funky.
Well, the Usos did.
Well, because that's part of the tribe. The tribal chief. I told them not to shower.
He probably just said, "No baby oil."
No baby oil.
But like, I think the only other matches that happened all night were Carmella versus Liv Morgan, which, by the way, completely wrong booking there. Liv Morgan should have went over after her tag team partner was fired.
Which makes me think she's the next one out the door.
I don't know if she's the next one out the door or not, but she's going to be the Barry Horowitz.
Oh no, or the Brooklyn Brawler.
I mean, yeah, she's the Brooklyn Brawler of the women's division now, dude. It's sad too because she is talented.
And what else?
At least we've heard she is. She never gets more than 5 minutes in the ring, so we can't tell.
Yeah.
And the only other match other than that I remember from all of SmackDown was Kevin Owens versus Aziz. I mean Apollo. And I say Aziz because, well, Aziz beat the shit out of him before the match started. So, of course, Kevin Owens had no chance in this match. This is what I don't understand about Kevin Owens' booking. Kevin Owens, like, when they have crowds, are you going to tell me that Kevin Owens is not going to get a Steve Austin-like pop?
So, which is, I don't understand why they're burying him.
So, you're right. Because if it was Steve Austin, for 4 straight years, that guy could get the shit beat out of him backstage, come down wearing like an entire body cast, and as long as you could get the leg up into your stomach and drop a stunner on you, he was winning the match.
Sometimes maybe not your stomach. We discussed this.
But that's what I'm saying. Is I loved the Sami Zayn moment after the match because he said, I don't even know why you came out here. You were so hurt. And then someone beat you up after that. Does that ring a bell? That's what you did to me.
I love that. That did make me pop.
Oh, I was crying. It was so good because Sami Zayn is that good. You know, and obviously Kevin Owens is that good, but they're not getting any mic time. They're getting 10-minute matches at best. They're getting squashed in all their matches. Like this isn't what Sami and Kevin should be doing at this point. They should be main eventing WrestleManias. They literally should be beating Roman Reigns for the championship. Either one of them. You know, hell, Sami Zayn went up against Bobby Lashley at Survivor Series last year for the champion versus champion match and got squashed. And it's ridiculous. Kevin Owens is getting squashed by Apollo Crews. Now, is Apollo actually getting over as a heel? Yes, he is. But that doesn't mean that Kevin Owens doesn't beat him. That doesn't mean that Kevin Owens doesn't get the final say or the final move because that's what baby faces are supposed to do. They do not create baby faces at all.
Maybe they're holding it off for some reason. I don't know. At this point, I'm confused with the booking.
I mean, even Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. First of all, it's a trash feud that nobody wants to see. And yet Cesaro's getting beat up every week. This is a guy who had 2 front teeth kicked into the upper side of his mouth and fought. And yet he's getting thrown around by Seth freaking Rollins. Give me a fucking break. It's bullshit.
I agree, man.
And it's Seth Rollins wearing a suit that his wife can't even fit into.
Oh, damn. I don't know. You see the picture of him on Insta? She's got her 6-pack back.
I'm not surprised. But I was saying that the suit's too small for both of them, by the way. It's driving me nuts because some of the booking has been terrific. The whole Roman Reigns Usos thing has been terrific. You know, and in fact, I want to say my favorite line of all of SmackDown right here, Tino.
What's that?
When Roman looks at the Usos, and he looks specifically at one, and he goes, "What are you going to do about that, Jimmy?"
Yes.
And he goes, "Dog, I'm Jay." And he goes, "Does it even matter?" Like, that's a Paul Heyman line right there. And I got to give credit where due because the whole point at the beginning of this was, which Uso are you? We don't even know anymore. Doesn't matter which one you are. Dude, that line, there were chills because it was so perfect. So perfect.
Yes. I heard that. I was like, whoa.
And you know, you couldn't exactly tell which one of the Usos he was looking at when he said it.
Oh no, he was looking straight at. He was looking at Jay.
Was he looking at Jay?
He was looking right at Jay.
Okay. Because Jimmy,
because when he did that, because he's looking at Jay and he said Jimmy, I was like, wait, then it hit me before he said it. I'm like, oh, he didn't.
Yeah. You hear it and you think that it's a flub. And if it was, then it's the best mistake they've ever made.
And he covered for it.
I mean, but when Jay looked at me, he said, "But dog, I'm Jay," and he goes,
"Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter." Like he is so stone cold evil, and I mean, it was like when Ralph Wiggum got told by Lisa Simpson that she didn't want to be his Valentine, and his heart broke, and it was. You know, like that, like just,
yep.
Like and like at the end of the episode, when Roman stops Jay, and he looks at him, Jay just goes like this.
He didn't just stop. He didn't just look at him. He stood like this. He was in his face, and Jay just kind of. It's almost like a dominant thing.
It was. And we've been saying all along that it's a dominance thing, but they play it so fucking well that you almost give the entire SmackDown a pass because you know that it was framed, you know, with the perfect storyline going on. Like, in fact, I'm hoping to God now, Tino. I'm hoping to God that
really?
Yell everybody a beer. Yell everybody a beer.
Yeah, shut up. Okay.
Is it your dinner? Is it your dinner? Is it here?
No, that was my father-in-law trying to FaceTime me for some reason. Anyway, go ahead. So they framed the show so well with opening with that, closing with it. And what I really hope that they do now, Tino, is I hope that they make Hell in a Cell a 3-on-2. I hope that they make it the Mysterios versus the Usos and Roman. Why?
Because now the Mysterios are involved with the council, right? So
why 2-on-3?
Well, I mean, who else the Mysterios going to get? You going to get Buddy Murphy off the waiver wire?
Yeah. That's wrong.
I mean, I guess you could get Cesaro, but then what's that do with Seth Rollins? You know, so I think they have to. I think they have to sit there, and if they're gonna, or they make it the Usos versus the Mysterios inside the Hell in a Cell, and Roman on commentary or whatever, and then at the end of the match, Roman just busts in and, you know, does what he does.
Yeah.
Starts beating down Jimmy or whatever. I don't know. Because they're saying that it's not Roman versus Jimmy at Hell in a Cell, and it shouldn't be. I mean,
I've heard they might be saying it's Roman versus Ray since he beat Ray down, which doesn't make sense to me. But
wasn't it Dominic that he beat down?
No,
it was Dominic. It was Dominic in the ring.
Yeah, but he messed Ray up too.
Oh yeah. Oh, dude, when he was just dragging the ring steps back and forth and just hitting both of them, I mean, he looked like a kid having fun. He looked like the bully having fun beating people up. You know, like that's what it looked like. And like I said, you almost give SmackDown a pass for how they framed the entire episode around that storyline and really start focusing on it. But the thing that pisses me off still to this day is that they are treating their baby faces and some heels too, like Sammy. They're treating them like shit.
Yeah, but and the whole framing thing, and you've said it perfectly. This is what they used to do back in the day, back in the 90s. You had a story running throughout the program. They've stopped doing that, and that's why it's working. So our SmackDown is working so well right now, and Raw's just.
Well, hold on. They are doing it on Raw too, though. It's just Raw's a 3-hour show. So when you come out in the first 10 minutes and you set up your main event for the end of the show, don't you tell me what to do.
She's over here whining.
Oh, I know, I can hear her, but like, you know, we got the cameras, so it's like
I guess I am facing you.
So, you know, like, but Raw does it too. It's just nobody cares about the story on Raw. Like we're the biggest problem that WWE booking has had. I did just pass gas, so maybe that's what that was.
No, all these bugs are flying towards the light and they're hitting me in the face now.
Go towards the light. So, you know, but like the number one problem, and we've said this for years, you know, is that WWE keeps feuds going way too long. We're now 2 full months after WrestleMania, and we're getting another Drew versus Bobby match. Now, granted, it's going to be in Hell in a Cell, so it'll deliver, but it's going to be the third one of these matches. Not to mention, they had another match in between when they were trying to show who was better, Braun or Drew. Well, now we obviously know because one of them still works for the company and the other one doesn't. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Braun's just trying to do what Drew did a couple years ago, where he you know gets kicked out of the company and has to work his way back. I don't know. I'm kidding, but again, you get tired of seeing the same match week in, week out, week in, week out. I don't need to see Cesaro versus Seth anymore. What I wouldn't mind seeing is Seth and Cesaro in opposite tag teams, where it's Seth and Sammy versus Cesaro and Kevin Owens, and then you suddenly have Kevin Owens going up against Seth and Sammy going up against Cesaro, because then you start intertwining different storylines, which also allows for, if you're going to have Kevin Owens go up against Seth Rollins, then Cesaro can come down and actually hit Seth Rollins, causing Kevin Owens to lose and even cause a matchup between them, or Sami Zayn coming in and hitting Seth Rollins with it to cause Kevin Owens to lose, kind of thing. You know, like that's the type of storyline stuff that doesn't happen anymore. You know, back in the day, and I always go back to this. There was an episode of Monday Night Raw that started with Molly Holly getting a Stone Cold Stunner from Steve Austin. Now, Molly Holly wasn't in a storyline with Steve Austin. Steve Austin just came out and dropped her with a stunner because that's what Steve Austin did, right? Now, that caused Crash Holly to come out and get real pissed off. So Crash came out and caught a stunner from him. Well, later in the evening, guess what? Hardcore Holly wanted a piece of Steve Austin too, because and it was that, like, they weren't in a storyline. In fact, I think that like the Bob Holly match versus Steve Austin ended up ending because whoever Bob Holly was in a feud with at the time came down and hit him with a chair, because it was Hardcore Holly at the time, right? Like, that's the stuff that doesn't happen. You literally have an agent working with 2 wrestlers or an agent working with 2 tag teams, but you never have the intertwining of the storylines anymore, and they don't even know that the other storylines are happening. The only person that ever seemed to know what was going on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown back in the day was John Cena, because he didn't have a script. He was allowed to talk about whatever the hell he wanted. All of a sudden, they start cheering for Daniel Bryan, and he goes, God, I hope they bring him out here. You know? Like, why not? Why is it so hard to intertwine the stories? You look at NXT, and they do it all the fucking time. They just did it with 4 guys to go against the champion.
Yes.
They just did it with their tag team champions and their former cruiserweight champion and their North American champion.
Yes.
Like, this is ridiculous. How does the main roster not know that this is how it works?
Well, no, like we said, SmackDown knows how it works. It's Raw that doesn't seem to know how it works. But
SmackDown doesn't do it either. Like there's very little crossover storylines. There was Seth Rollins coming down at the end of Cesaro's match against Roman Reigns just to get Cesaro out of that main event picture. That was it. Did they do it with the Intercontinental title? Yeah, kind of, because suddenly you got Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn in there, but you don't have the new guy coming in and all of a sudden like being in a match against Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens causes the distraction or whatever, so Sammy loses that match to give this guy a little bit of a rub so he can get in his own storyline. You don't have that. And even in SmackDown, you don't have that. Like, that's what's so annoying about it. Like, why do we care? With Roman's storyline, we care because from beginning to end of SmackDown, you know that you're there to watch him. Right? You may hate his fucking guts.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. You're there to watch him. You want to see what that head of the table is going to do to his cousins by the end of the episode. You want to see what he's going to do to Rey Mysterio by the end of the episode because you know that it pissed him off that his family got embarrassed by him. Right?
Yes.
That's great. That's good storytelling. But it doesn't help any of the other stories. Doesn't help any of them. Like, you know what would help those other stories? You finally put the Seth versus Cesaro match on, and you have Roman Reigns come out and hit both of them with a steel chair and say, I'm tired of fucking waiting. Bring Mysterio out here right now. That way it intertwines with the other storylines and it does something to just really kind of push it all together and make it feel like a cohesive show. They just don't do that. And Raw is the main catalyst to that. Like I said, NXT does it all the time. They did it so much in the last episode that there was too much of it.
I didn't mind it, though. It was cool.
You're absolutely right. You need chaotic episodes of show to make people go, holy shit, they're willing to do anything, right? And then you need to have shows that are full wrestling, where you drive the storyline by having someone come down and hit Pete Dunne with a steel chair because they got pissed off. Like, now that there's a 5-way dance going on at the next NXT pay-per-view, you know that they're going to sit there and have singles matches, one-on-one, 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 and they're just going to keep but that's not necessarily a good thing. Put them in a tag team match because they all hate each other, so they got to work together to get the win. That's what you do. You do that kind of thing. You do different, and NXT will do it better than Raw or SmackDown.
Yes.
But will they do it right is the real question. Sorry, I know I went on a rant there, but it was a rant that I think needed to happen, especially if they're listening to us.
All right. Time for ew. Because I want to get to my sub.
Go ahead.
I was just only getting to my sub. What is the deal? So I'm wondering now if so a lot happened, but I was noticing, I want to see if you noticed this too. When the Team Taz did their interview and they were going on and on about the Archer and did you notice that Rock Light, I forget his name.
Brian Cage? No,
Rock Light.
Damn it. I just had it. Ricky Starks.
Taz was talking about Cage going up against him again, and Starks just goes and walks away, and Taz kind of stops and looks at him, and he keeps on. So I was thinking for a while that Cage was going to turn on them. Now I'm thinking Starks is going to turn on him.
Well, Starks is out for a while, so I don't like they might just write him off of TV for a little while.
Why? Why's he out? I didn't hear he was out. His neck.
Yeah, like it's either a neck sprain or it might even be like a busted disc or something.
Now, for a while there, they're making it like Cage was about to turn on him and go on his own and become face and probably go against Powerhouse Hobbs. But
if any of them does go babyface, it's probably going to be Cage because they're going to beat him down. You know,
and take the WWE title.
Why do you carry around a belt
that you don't defend and it's not sanctioned?
I don't care that it's not sanctioned, but you defend a fucking belt. You defend it. You know, and then when you lose the match and you're fucking heel, that's when you sit there and go, it wasn't sanctioned. Sorry, it's my belt. You put it back on your shoulder. And that's when you have someone like Cody come out at some point. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But you have somebody like Cody come out at the pay-per-view and go, this match is sanctioned. So when he loses it, then he loses the belt. That's how you push a super monster heel. just bullshit like garbage healing, man. Like people just don't do that anymore.
I was gonna say, speaking of Cody, I was gonna say the Dustin Rhodes match with Nick Camrata. I thought it was a good match, but I think the wrong guy went over.
Well, I think a lot of people are actually saying that there was no reason for Dustin Rhodes to be in the main event of an AEW show ever.
Well, who's his brother?
Well, right, but Cody's only booked himself to be the mid-level champion, so he's not a main eventer in this. So he's not sitting there and pushing himself.
But that faction is called the Nightmare Family, so he's still got some say in that.
Oh no, I totally agree. But you know, like, remember how a couple weeks ago we were talking about the dissension between the EVPs? Well, you think someone finally got a little upset about the fact that he never has a main event for his booking and his storylines? It's Cody. Yeah. And here's so behind the scenes right now, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about Roman Reigns here. Behind the scenes, Roman Reigns has kind of said that there's no reason for him not to be on first or last. There's no reason. Like, he shouldn't be in the middle of the card on any of the broadcasts, except for like Survivor Series or Royal Rumble, right? Because both of those shows like have that major match that is the main event kind of thing. Hell in a Cell, same thing, except as the champion, he should be in a Hell in a Cell match. So he has gone on record now as saying, if I'm not first and I'm not last, I'm not wrestling. Now, granted, part of that's part of the storyline, right? But why isn't it true? Why isn't it right? So when you look at AEW's booking structure right now, who goes on first almost every week?
Kenny.
No.
The Bucks.
The Bucks. Who goes on last?
Kenny.
And who goes on somewhere in the middle where nobody wants to be?
Cody.
So you don't think that this was a little reprieve of that, of saying we're going to go ahead and let Cody's storylines go ahead and have main event on a Friday night where last week we got our lowest rating ever?
So they're doing Cody dirty.
Maybe not. Maybe people got tired of watching Kenny go on last. Maybe people got tired of watching, but regardless of that, Dustin Rhodes should never be in a fucking main event of your top show. He's 55 years old, man. It's like, okay, I get that he's in the best shape of his life, but unless there's a real storyline that's really like heated up between like him and Cody, there's no reason to watch him in that spot.
That's another reason why the wrong guy went over. They should have let that young guy go. They should have let Nick go over because he looks like a fucking Bruiser Brody, just amped up on steroids. I mean, that dude is a hoss.
Yeah, and while I do think that Cody coming out as the American Dream at the pay-per-view should be the guy that goes over in his match, I think that it was wrong that Cody went over against a Go-Go. Because here you have all these brand new guys that are trying to work their way up, and Cody goes over everyone.
Well, no, the reason why they did the Go-Go, it was Memorial Day weekend.
Because it was the American Dream, right?
Yes.
But, if you know that that's going to be the case, don't book it that way. That match was booked weeks in advance if Cody goes over at the pay-per-view.
But they knew it was going to be Memorial Day weekend.
So if you want to get heel heat, you have the heel from the UK beat you on Memorial Day weekend when you are the American Dream. That's how you get heel heat.
They want heel heat. They want the crowd to go home happy. They want the American Dream. They want USA to go over. They want USA to go over on Memorial Day.
So hold on. I see your point, but what was part of what you just said? Want the crowd to go home happy. And in the middle of the card, you don't send anybody home.
But
no, sir.
They would not have gone home happy if the UK beat America.
Well, they weren't going home happy anyway because Kenny was going over the two baby faces.
Why do you have to be such an asshole?
Because, and I'm right.
You know I'm right too. You know what I'm saying.
Oh, I do know what you're saying.
They did
like it's like July 4th weekend. July 4th weekend, Cody's going to come out and say he's going to be the American Dream again.
Yes.
Well, is he never going to lose as the American Dream? You know what? Let him go ahead and make his hair dark again so he can be the American Nightmare with dark hair. And every time that he comes out as the American Dream, he sits there and bleaches his hair again.
He's had the hair bleached for a while. He hadn't gone back to darken him.
My point is if you're going to have different characters, they should be different characters. Look at Finn. When Finn's the demon, he's the demon. When he's Finn, he's wearing the pride jackets and everything else.
That's like
Bray and the Fiend. Like, I would love it if Cody were to do that. I think that would be great storytelling on his part, and that would definitely be character development for him. You know, sure, I don't ever want to see Stardust again. That character was bullshit. But do I want to see Cody have two different sides, where one is the American Nightmare who's willing to do anything to win a match, and the other one's the American Dream where he's just going to sit there and straight up beat you by wrestling you? Dude, tell me that is not money. Now, granted, is his hair going to die at some point? He's not going to be able to bring it back? Yeah, okay, I get it. But at the same time, you only bring out the American Nightmare on special occasions when you want him to go up against Jon Moxley, or you want him to go up against Eddie Kingston, or you want him to go up against Kenny Omega in a barbed wire match or whatever. You know, that's when you bring out the American Nightmare. You bring out the American Dream when it's going to be if you throw the guy over the top ropes, it's a disqualification match. You know, you go back to old school rules.
NWA rules.
Yeah. Like, oh man, imagine the character development that you would get out of Cody Rhodes by doing that. Like, he'd literally get to show his range as an actor because it would be two different personalities.
That'd be cool. That'd be something.
You know, so I'm not saying that like, why doesn't he come out with the black hair? No, I'm saying develop it, make it into part of the story, make him actually like drawn to that dark side sometimes, and when he does, that's when he colors the hair black. That's when he comes out. You know, maybe he does put the star back over the one eye.
Oh no, I'll never do that again. Never, ever do that again.
Well,
ever.
Well, you know, we said a couple weeks ago that if they really are having problems behind the scenes, that the one that'll end up being kicked out of the group,
it's Cody.
Pretty easy to see. It's Cody, because the Bucks and Kenny worked together for like 10 years. Cody's been there for like 3.
Cody can go back. And Cody could go back. We've talked about this to WWE. He can go back to Independence. He can go anywhere.
If he goes back to WWE, though, at some point he's going to put that face paint on.
You think so?
Oh, if he were to sit there and do these 2 different characters, why not add a 3rd one?
But he's not doing 2 characters now.
Is he not, though?
No.
Is he not?
What else we got?
So I've caught up on, and I didn't write a little thing for it, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna put up the little subscribe to the show thing. I've caught up on Dark Side of the Ring.
What channel's that on?
It's on Vice.
I don't know if I have Vice. I don't think I have Vice.
The episodes are available for like $3 a piece on YouTube.
Eventually, they'll go to Hulu because that's how I was watching them before.
They won't. I don't think they'll go to Hulu, but they do seem to end up free on YouTube quite often. Okay. I watched a couple episodes this week, Tino, and I'll tell you. One of them was the Collision in Korea.
Okay.
Which was all about when Antonio Inoki went to Eric Bischoff and said, "How would you like to bring WCW to North Korea to have the biggest wrestling match of all time?" And the wrestling match, by the way, was Antonio Inoki versus Ric Flair.
Another one where he lost the belt but didn't lose the belt?
No, but Inoki did win the match.
Okay.
Like, Inoki was going over because Inoki set the whole thing up to try to be a politician and a peace deliverer to the world. So he was trying to get people in North Korea to accept him so that they would stop being so violent towards Japanese people and vice versa, and thus get Inoki voted into office as a politician. But this is all about like Scott Norton, Flash Funk, Too Cold Scorpio. Too Cold Scorpio and Road Warrior Hawk apparently almost killed each other on this trip. Like literally, like came to blows multiple times, and Flash Funk actually, Too Cold Scorpio actually grabbed a metal pair of chopsticks and on the concrete windowsill was actually sharpening his chopsticks so that he could stab him and shank him. And all the while, by the way, Eric Bischoff is on this episode too. And Eric Bischoff's talking about how like at one point he got up before everybody else in the morning and decided to go for a run, right? So he goes downstairs, goes outside, he's running in his jogging outfit, and he starts seeing all these North Korean people walking outside, and they see him, and they're spreading like the Red Sea for Moses as he's running through because they've never seen an American before. And all they've ever heard about Americans is how evil they are.
Oh my God.
And he gets back to the hotel, and his handler from North Korea is basically sitting there reprimanding him and yelling and screaming at him like, what are you thinking? You could have died out there. You could have gotten me killed by you leaving without your handler and everything else. So he's like, doing this whole number and everything. And then, like they brought Muhammad Ali on the trip and everything else. So I mean, it was a real thing for peace. And just like the craziest part about it was that, they're sitting there talking about it, and Scott Norton asks somebody, he's like, so how many people are we going to have at the stadium? And they're like, 170,000. And he's like, how much were tickets? And they're like, no tickets. Forced to be there.
Okay.
So the 170,000 people had to be there. Had never seen pro wrestling before, so they'd never seen an exhibition like this. And it wasn't until Inoki came out, and it turns out that Inoki's trainer, the guy that actually trained him on how to be a pro wrestler, even though he wrestled in Japan for his entire career, turns out he was North Korean by origin, right?
Oh, okay.
So the North Korean people knew this. So while they hadn't, like, there was no crowd noise at all for the entire event, when Inoki started hitting Ric Flair with the fists, all of a sudden the entire crowd just started getting louder and louder, and 170,000 people are cheering for Antonio Inoki to beat this White Devil.
Wow.
Imagine that.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was one of the episodes. Another one of the episodes was at the same week that A&E did their biography on the Ultimate Warrior. The Dark Side of the Ring came out with the untold story of the Ultimate Warrior.
How was it?
I'm going to tell you, two totally different sides of the coin, my friend. I will say this: his ex-wife, who definitely goes into the fact that like he was leaving, not coming home, and everything else. So he was cheating on her and everything else. She had nothing but great things to say about him. Like she did say at one point, she's like, it wasn't when he left this Jim Hellwig, when he came home, he was the Ultimate Warrior, and I didn't know who he was anymore. That was like the only negative thing that she actually said about him. And they talk about like when he passed and everything else, and she's breaking down crying, talking about it, even though she hadn't talked to him in like 15 years.
Wow.
And she's just like, she's getting people calling her saying, hey, we're really sorry to hear about Jim. And she's like, what are you talking about? And they're like, he passed away this morning. And she's like, you got to be kidding me, and it's, like I said, two different sides of the coin. But the episode you need to watch, Tino, is all about Brian Gage. Nick Gage. I'm sorry, Nick Gage. Nick Gage is the current king of the death match. and him and his brother grew up doing the matches with like the light bulbs and everything else. And there was a match where he was actually at this tournament in like Delaware, and one of the neon lights hit him in the side, and when he pulled it out, he must have hit an artery because he was bleeding out, right? And he's sitting there, and there's a camera on him at this event backstage where they're sitting there like taking all the paper towels and everything they have and shoving it in this hole to stop the bleeding. And he's sitting there going, I can go back out there, right? I can go back out there, right? And it's all because he doesn't want this weird dude from Germany being declared the winner of this event. So he wants to go back out there. Well, turns out they put him on a helicopter because they can't get an ambulance onto the property. So they get a helicopter in, they put him on the helicopter. He's legally dead for 8 minutes. Now, all that's cool and everything, but remember when David Arquette decided he wanted to prove he should be a pro wrestler again? Not the WCW World Champion, David Arquette, but like 2 years ago, David Arquette. You don't remember it, do you? He signed a deal with I think it was GCW, which is Game Changer Wrestling. Okay. They signed Nick Gage to be his opponent. David Arquette takes him out for dinner the night before and says, and they go out to a really nice steak place. David Arquette says, just don't cut me. Just don't cut. We can do whatever in this death match, but don't cut me because this is the moneymaker. You can't fuck up the moneymaker. Nick Gage pulls out a pizza cutter, cuts across his forehead, and then puts it in his mouth. And on top of that, at one point, he hits Arquette with one of the light bulbs, right? So the big poles, hits him with one of those, has it in his hand, and Arquette's trying to get away from him because he's just pissed off at this point. Goes right into his neck. So, of course, Gage pins him while he's sitting there holding his neck and making sure that he's not like bleeding out. And Gage says, you stay the fuck down or I'm going to fucking kill you. And it was because Arquette was sitting there like flailing, trying to, and it was like, this match is over. Just stay the fuck down. By the way, Nick Gage now, I don't know if you saw our Facebook group, Tino, but he's going to have a match against Matt Cardona.
Where?
Who showed up in Game Changer Wrestling to sit there and say he was tired of listening to Nick Gage sit there and talk shit about him.
Oh, he gonna die.
Now, on this episode, by the way, they did have John Moxley on there explaining how passionate for the business Nick Gage really is. Because Moxley was the first guy that had the pizza cutter go across his head and then through his mouth. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and say, if you haven't watched those episodes of Dark Side of the Ring, highly recommended. Highly recommended. Anyways, I don't really have anything else except I do want to go ahead and tell everybody that Fayetteville Comic-Con is Father's Day weekend in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I would love to see anybody out there either picking up Junior High Horrors books, sitting in on a panel that I'm speaking on, or, of course, just having a good time. Tino, I'm going to let you take us out of here.
All right, folks, you can check him out on the Twitter machine at Podcheck. You can check me out. I'm HootieFan91. You can check him out on the Insta at Rob Podcheck. I am SC Tino. Also, you could check us out on Twitter at Potsy and Tino. Facebook, we're the Potsy and Tino Show. You're checking it out right now on the TikTok. That's you. We're on TikTok, and you're Rob Podcheck on TikTok, right?
Rob Potsy Podcheck.
Rob Potsy Podcheck.
Twitch.
Right now, same as Twitch, and right now you're checking us out on the YouTube, so you know what channel to check us out on. We want to say thank you to please, like and subscribe.
99. We need one more for 100, baby.
We want to say thank you to Adam's House Cat for the wrestling song, which is our theme song. You can check that out on iTunes for 99 cents. And as always, folks,
Hey, hold on.
Huh?
Did you see the video of El Idolo actually giving a suplex to Ric Flair into the
Yes, I sent that to you.
You sent that to me?
Yeah. So as always,
he went, woo!
Good night. Woo!
Woo!
Oh yeah. I am the most recognizable, baby. Dusty Rhodes.
The man got to beat the man.
Dusty beat the man. Woo!